kind of story applies to what kind of content you're making.
Reviews, I could never been harder. It's like important to surprise your audience.
All right, today, ladies and gents, is day one Spartan Half Marathon training. Probably arguably one of the dumbest things I've ever agreed to do. Now, one thing to keep in mind is a half marathon sucks. It's not fun. Nobody likes to do it. And if you do, you're probably weird. But a Spartan half marathon is arguably even worse. Even worse than that, yes, there's an even worse, is it's currently 106 degrees in Arizona. And I decided now is a good time to start preparing for this. So here's the game plan for today. I started attempting to train for this probably, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. And what had happened was, do I have everything? What happened was that I had it in my head, we're doing this half marathon. We weren't gonna do Spartan, we were just gonna do a half marathon, period. And so I just started running. I grabbed a nice little pair of shoes and was like, I need to get to the point where I could run 13 point whatever miles. But anyway, so I started just running and my calf just got crazy swollen and my knee started bothering me. So I had to actually take a couple weeks off. But in that interim time, we realized that we could do the Spartan Half Marathon, which is in November, which A, gives me a little bit more time. Let me start this workout thing on my phone. So it gives me a couple more weeks to prepare, which obviously I desperately need, or like a month. Oh, it's the wrong way. Anyway, gives me about a month, extra month to prepare, which I desperately needed, like I said. But even better than that, it's a different race, right? It's not like just running straight. There's also obstacles involved, which I can handle. I've done Spartan before, just not the half marathon. So we're gonna do things a little bit different this go around. Now that we're preparing for it, I'm not just gonna start freaking running and putting in crazy miles. I'm actually gonna go based on time. And if you've ever trained for half marathon before, let me know if this is dumb or not, or if this is the way to look at it. But instead of going for miles, I'm gonna start going for time. Meaning, so today, plan is I'm gonna do about 30 minutes walk run here at this trail in Papago Park. So that way I get a nice little view, if you can't tell. As I'm running, it's not so boring. And we're just gonna kind of get to the point where we're doing, like we could feasibly do about 2.5 hours, 3 hours of work. All right, first round of the run walk situation completed right now. So I read something online, one of these like online training programs, talking about how for someone like me that hasn't done like, all right, first round walk run completed. Feel terrible, but that's to be expected. I read something online that was talking about how if you're someone like me that hasn't ran literally in like 4 years, kind of your best bet is to do this thing where you run for 2 minutes, walk for 4. So whatever you can do running wise, you just double that in the walk. And the ego kind of got in the way when I saw this, the first go around of like starting training with running. And I was like, no, man, like last time I ran for like 9 miles. I literally just kind of decided to go running one day and then just ran. So, you know, training again, running won't be hard. Well, turns out 4 years not running, it's quite a bit of a long time. And by the way, I'm fully aware, I look ridiculous with this headband on, but when I wear these AirPods, they like fall out of my ear when I'm running. So I wear the headband, obviously to keep sweat out of my eyes, but also to keep the earbuds in your ear. At any rate, so instead of being egotistical and being like, no, I'm just gonna fight through it, which I did literally weeks ago. That's the reason why my knee's so jacked up right now. Kind of decided, you know what? Let me do this the right way. Because also too with Spartan race, it's not like an all-out sprint for a half marathon. There's obstacles, obviously, that you could do. There's a lot of walking in between. So waiting for stuff, I'm like, it's more realistic, I think, to do this. For those that have ran the half marathon, Spartan, let me know in the comments how off I am. But I feel like, again, it's probably better to do it this way. My plan though, this is like my first attempt of going to like more hybrid training where, because I don't want to just run. I literally ran for like 2 weeks and lost a bunch of weight. It's getting skinny. I was like, I don't want to lose my gains. Very bro-like of me to say, but I mean, this is the truth. So the nice thing about Spartan is that you have to still kind of lift because obviously there's gonna be things to do. So anyway, I'm gonna stop talking, get back to running.
So are you trying to go like in between here and the zoo or?
Yeah, so I parked at the hole in the wall.
Okay.
I thought that there was a trail that like circled it. I was trying to find this trail that I thought I was on. Turns out I was in this random staff trail and I didn't know where I was. So this nice gentleman picked me up and was like, hey dude, do you want me to bring you back to where you were? And I was like, yeah, maybe that's a good idea, because I am lost. This is why, folks, it's important, especially in Arizona desert, to follow trail signs. In my defense, I did not see any freaking signs. Anyway, I think I'm in the right direction. I think I'm going in the right direction. Okay, I'm gonna pick another trail next time. Anyway, let's keep running. All right, run, walk, done. It ended up coming out to just over two miles. And yeah, so overall ended up being about like 2 miles with some elevation and all that. That's gross. But again, here's where like ego normally would get me, is I would go, cause I feel fine. Like my knees are a little painful, but nothing too crazy. And normally my Neanderthal brain would be like, this is not good enough. Like if I'm not limping off the trail, it wasn't a good enough workout. The one thing I learned I'm trying to learn from my mistakes. And the one thing I learned was there's a long journey to get ready for a half marathon. And this is like the first workout. So today I was just trying to get to the point where I'm getting my heart rate elevated and just get the time in. So I think the training kind of split, if you will. I'm planning on doing is every other day, run / walk, and then get to the point where I'm running as much as I'm walking. So it's like 2 minute split, run, 2 minute walk, versus right now I just did 2 minute run, 4 minute walk. And towards the end there, I try to pick up the pace a little bit. The thing that I don't know is like, obviously because it's so hot in Arizona, obviously when I do this race, the race itself will be easy. It's in November, it's a lot cooler then. So if I can run and try to get my heart rate down to the point where like when I'm running, it's not, 165 beats per minute, that'll be a win for me. Because obviously in November, it's gonna be way cooler and a little bit easier. But, so now, every other day I'll probably do this run walk thing, increase the time over time, and then in between those days, lift. I think the mistake I made last time wasn't really lifting, I just started just running. And I don't have any science to back this up, but I feel like with how much I have been lifting, to just stop, it did something to my knees. Like I feel like I don't know how to explain it. Like, because I stopped lifting, it feels like when I was lifting, I was like building muscle around my knees and it was like kind of protecting my knee a little bit better. And then when I stopped, just like all that pain, it feels like it just wasn't being protected, if that makes any sense. And so this go around, I'm gonna make sure that I actually like continue to lift and squat and all that stuff so my knee can feel more stable. And hopefully that helps with like the impact, because I'll tell you what, man, like pretty rough, that impact on your knees. But the other part of this plan too is I got to incorporate yoga somewhere, which I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I'll be honest with you, stretching is just a no-go for me. I just feel like it's boring. But if you do yoga, which is stretching, I know, but like something about doing a yoga class, it like makes me feel like I have to do it. So anyway, the rest of the day today, I'm gonna get home, get the ice barrel. I was gonna do sauna, but I'll be honest with you, I ran in 106-degree weather. Isn't that like the sauna? I don't know. So anyway, I'm probably gonna just do the ice barrel and then go from there. It's funny, I got the kids, Mila and Kayla are both sick right now. So sleep has been an issue in the last couple of days, but hopefully I gotta stop and get some medicine for them and hopefully they start feeling better here soon, because I would like to get some rest. I know they would too, but they're all, congested and that's not really fun. Anyway, I'll see you back at the house for the ice cold plunge for the ice barrel, for the cold plunge. Jeez Louise, man, my brain, I think the heat is starting to melt my brain a little bit. All right, so we're back at the house and now it's time for arguably one of the worst parts of training, recovery. I got this a little bit ago and honestly, it's like one of my favorite things I've gotten, just because at the end of the day, there's like no better way to recover than doing a cold plunge. And right now we're sitting at about 45 degrees. One of the smartest things that we did, my father-in-law actually came up with this. He bought this giant 40-pound jug fills it with water and he puts it in his freezer. So it's just like solid ice, and we dump it in like the night before we want to do it. Plus I have these like 8-pound ice blocks, and honestly, last night it was like at 60 some odd degrees, and now we're sitting at about 45. So perfection. One of the things I was thinking about during the run was like the importance of doing hard things. So I was listening to Joe Rogan and Andrew Huberman talk about this, how there's like a section in the brain where you literally have a part of your brain that like regulates doing hard stuff. And as you continue to do harder and harder things, you make yourself do it, that area in the brain gets bigger, which means it's easier to do harder things. And it's funny how sometimes for people, the hardest thing they do in a given day is just their 9-to-5 job. More on this in a second. I have to like get mentally prepared for this. It's the sit down that's the worst part. Oh, that sucks. So like the hardest thing people do is their 9-to-5. And it's frustrating, and you're dealing with clients and coworkers and all this stuff, and you don't have like perspective. That's like the hardest thing. And there's like this saying, the hardest thing I've ever been through is the hardest thing I've ever been through. And I've fallen and kind of prey to this too. There was times during work and stuff where like the only thing I could do in that time, at least the excuse I gave myself, was I needed to just focus entirely on my 9-to-5 job and my business. And when I did that, yeah, sure, I like focused on the business and things got better, and same thing with work. But you know, one thing that I realized was like little things started to get to me over time. Dumb backhanded comments from clients, or you know, comments on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, started to affect me differently. I started to get more upset by it. I was taking things personally, but it's because you didn't have perspective at the time. Like that's the hardest thing that I went through in that day, was dealing with that comment, which after you do something like the cold plunge or a run or a workout, whatever, everything else, like you realize isn't that big of it's not that deep. There's something that I oftentimes put on threads probably once a week where I go, just a friendly reminder, it's not that deep. Because it's not. Like most things are not that, one, important. Two, you're not gonna be thinking about it probably in a few weeks, even a few days. And so there's really no point in getting all upset about it. It just is what it is. But it's hard, it's really hard to try to like have that type of mindset when the hardest thing you're doing in a day is sitting at your desk, talking to clients, or dealing with leading teams or whatever. That's the hardest thing. Then it puts things out of whack. Like things are not in the right perspective or the right kind of cadence. So recently, like I said, the part of the reason why I decided to do this half marathon was because I was getting in a habit where the hardest thing I was doing was working. And so I needed a challenge. I needed something that like kind of scared me a little bit. Man, am I even ready for this? And I'm telling you right now that this half marathon Spartan race is definitely it. Now it's kind of a trade-off. I know there's people that are really big into like doing cold plunges or sitting there watching this thinking, Raylen, you got to put your arms in. Now there's a bit of a trade-off here. So if I put my arms in, number one, the Whoop for some reason recently hasn't been tracking it. Like it says it can't find my heart rate, which is crappy. Because I like to track when I go into the cold plunge, sitting at like 100 some odd beats per minute. And then watching it dwindle down is like my favorite thing. But also then I'm like covering my armpits, and that's like the worst part to me, is like having the cold underneath like all the, you know, your armpits, and then the inside of the back end of your knee. What is that called? Whatever. So anyway, I do this probably half the time so that I can actually get my armpits in and suffer a little bit more. But anyway, well, I think we'll call it here. The rest of the day I just have content that I gotta edit and stuff like that. And honestly, it's Labor Day, so I think I'm gonna take the rest of the day off. Just relax with my family. Again, the family's sick, so plus I need to give my brain a little break. I think I might play some video games later, play some Call of Duty. That being said, thanks for watching. I'm gonna do more of these type of videos as I'm kind of preparing for the Spartan race. If you've done the Spartan half marathon before, leave your tips and comments. Leave your tips in the comment section below. I can use all the help I can get. And as always, I'll catch you guys in the next one.